All right, welcome back, guys. Happy Friday. Sean here with BlueRidgeSilverhound. Hope you guys are having a great day. So I want to do this video. Daniel Malone, CoinHELPu, a great guy. I know him not super personally. I've never met him in person. Maybe Daniel one day that'll happen. He and I have talked on a few occasions, just through comments and chat and things like that, and incredibly supportive of the overall community. Um, I feel like sometimes, his message, sometimes it doesn't resonate with a lot of people, and that's very unfortunate. And, as much as I try and do that, he does that, there is still a whole other world out there. Okay. And I would say that if we were able to capture about 5% of the entire world, let alone the United States, where coin collecting is quite robust and very popular, then we'd be in a much better position. As far as when it comes to the sales of coins and precious metals, I think there's still a whole lot that the world does not know about that. All right, so he did this video just the other day. Why dealers hate pennies and don't want to buy yours. I wanted to take a moment to kind of address some of the points that he made in this video as someone who is generally on the other side of the counter, buying inventory and things like that, I could probably provide some insight. And Lincoln Sense, I've always said, and you guys have heard me say this like on multiple occasions throughout many videos, that Lincoln Cents are the most popular series to collect. It's inexpensive. You could pick up a roll of pennies for 50 cents at the bank, go through them, fill up albums, and kind of have that beginner's kind of I don't know, enjoyment of filling up an album or a folder, things like that. And it's usually because of its low price point sometimes that is a much more approachable series to encounter. Okay, so we would automatically assume that every coin dealer would love to buy Lincoln cents of all shapes and sizes. We would assume that all dealers have Lincoln cents to sell us on the other side of that. And sometimes it's just not the case. And this is coming from a guy myself who lives in the Sacramento area, where I have at any given time, about 10, 12 different coin dealers in this area. It's very rich in a coin dealer and inventory and things like that. So I wanted to address some of the things that Daniel had mentioned in this video, from his perspective as a dealer, and then, of course, my perspective as a collector consumer on the other side. Now, I will say this. I echo roughly 90% of some of the points that he had made in this video, completely, totally for what he has to say. But the other 10%, I think it's more adding, kind of supplementing what he has to say, and not so much saying that he's wrong at any one, at one of those points. So we'll talk about it. It looks like we caught Daniel in a little bit of a compromising facial expression here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And by the way, as a way of kind of supporting Daniel, go ahead and visit his website. He has awesome inventory. If you've never been to his website, portsmouthcoinshop.com, go ahead and check it out. He's got a lot of great stuff, and at all budget levels, and he's got some higher end collectibles as well for you guys out there who's on the kind of like the live at large size of collector base. So let's go ahead and start with the first point here, if we may.
Not like wheat cents or even want to buy them. My name is Daniel, and you are watching CoinHELPu. Thanks for watching my latest video. If you need help with a coin, have a coin question, or even about paper comment, if you want to support thecoinshop.com,
I'll
the
advance
link's
this
in
a
the
little bit
description
here.
and a pinned
He's
comment.
talking about his website,
So let's get back to
Portsmouth
this
Coin
top
Shop.
10. Most Lincoln cents on the market are low grade, circulated, and dirty. Number 9,
I
they are
agree.
heavy and bulky. And
Completely agree. With a pound of copper cents right now, going for over $4 a pound, They are heavy. A 5,000 count bag is really heavy as well. I think it's like 56 pounds. So if you're going to go and buy a bag of 5,000 wheat cents, it's going to be heavy. Watch your back.
I mean, 1,000 face bags and rolls really add up. If you've ever had a milk crate full of them trying to lift on them, they can become really heavy, and for shipping and logistics of it and storage, to even have enough to make money on, you've got to have storage for that.
Lincoln cents in general, when being sold or bought in bulk, there's a very razor sharp profit margin. Coin shops will buy them for, I'm just going to throw in an example, and this is not indicative of, how Daniel buys it, of course. Most shops that I do know, they buy them for 2 cents a piece, regardless of date. Because, if it's a big old bag, they're not going to sit there and search through them in front of you. Unless you say, oh, I think I have some '09 SVDBs in there, 14Ds, where you're giving the coin dealer an opportunity to kind of go through them. Oftentimes, they'll leave that inventory there with the dealer so that way they could go through them over the course of a day or two. All right.
Number 8 on the list. They're too common and plentiful. I mean, there's just so many of them. You can buy them in bulk, and I mean, they were minted in the hundreds of millions, even billions when you add them all together. Number 7 reason, and there's not a lot of profit. You you can buy them for 2 cents. Most dealers buy them for 2 cents to 4 cents a piece, just depending, because most of them are earning on 30s, 40s, and 50s. And you might be able to sell them double your money, but you're only making a couple dollars.
And that's something that I echo as well. Especially the stuff that goes through the dealer. You have to assume that dealer knows what they have in stock. It would be short-sighted to think that if someone had bags of wheat cents to sell, unless you 100% know that they are truly unsearched. We all have to assume whether that's someone as experienced as me because I've been out there buying wheat cents, and I can tell you that finding the honey hole of truly unsearched Lincoln cents represents probably less than a quarter% of the entirety of the people across the United States that we know are pretty uneducated as far as what to look for, and they'll just assume that it's just pennies, you know. So finding those, and there aren't too many of those left remaining. I actually knew someone and had bought a few bags of truly unsearched Lincolns that I were going to go through for myself. Come to find out, there were a few '09Ss, 31Ss in there. It was kind of a crappy feeling. Yeah, I had sold it on the secondary market, and that is truly an unsearched honey hole. They just simply don't exist. We have to assume that all of it has been searched through.
Maybe on a roll, maybe more, but most of the time it's not. You're trying to get rid of them because there's so many. Number 6 reason on the list. It takes too much time to sort them to make sure they're all wheat cents, because a lot of memorials get mixed in there, and that takes a lot of time, like I said, from a dealer standpoint and profit standpoint. Number
Okay, this one I heavily agree upon, especially if you work at a shop and it's just you, or maybe you and one other person. Um, and especially in this environment where precious metals heavily influences buying and selling strategies, a lot of people have been buying and selling. All right, a lot of selling right now with the price of silver and gold the way it is. Gold is like it's too good to pass up if you have a lot of it. Whether that's broken jewelry, regular jewelry, coins, things of that nature. So again, from a dealer's point of view, and I've seen this, I had talked to a lot of people about this um, from the industry side. They simply just don't have the time. Now, unless you were going to pay them some sort of consultation fee for the dealer to go through your inventory, which some will, some won't. It really depends. That's where they're gonna be more attentive to what could be in there, especially if you have large bulk of it. But outside of that, a dealer's not going to have time generally to go through bags upon bags of coin that have come in from the street to look for, potential dates, varieties, errors. More to come, by the way.
Number 5 on the list. Now we're getting into the real issues that are very difficult to deal with Lincoln cents. The Philadelphia minted cents didn't have a mint mark. So you got all these coins out there that are no mint mark because they never was meant to have a mint mark. And it has become one of the biggest misunderstood, and a lot of scammers have took advantage of that and try to make them look like they're worth more because they have no mint mark, when in reality, they're just Philadelphia mint and they're completely normal. The only time the U.S. Mint Philadelphia Mint put a mint mark on a cent was 2017.
All right, completely correct. We see a lot of this degenerate kind of selling behavior on eBay. All right, so please do be aware of that. Philadelphia struck coins will not have a mint mark. All right.
The rest of them would be D and S. Number 4 on the list, and it's a biggie, the no mint mark. The Philadelphia Mint issues without the mint mark on them have become one of the biggest clickbait opportunities for people who do videos and for people who sell online.
I'm not one
So
of
it's
them.
definitely become one of
I'm
the
not one of them.
biggest issues with Lincoln cents as far
Screw
as
those
being sold
guys.
online, and one of the biggest catalysts for
Oh my God.
confusion when it comes to buying and selling and determining the value of Lincoln wheat cents. Number 3 on the list. Most Lincoln wheat cents are from the mid 1930s, 40s, and 50s. And I mean, that's the bulk of what survived and what was hoarded.
Yeah.
They were just hoarded whenever everyone realized they were going to change from the wheat cent to the memorial. Everybody hoarded what was in circulation at the time, or at least what was most plentiful, and that was those decades, the 50s, 40s, and the 30s. And there's some 20s. Most of the Philadelphia mint out there that everybody's calling no mint mark, weren't supposed to have a mint mark, are very plentiful.
All right. So what Daniel's not going to tell you here is, yes, traditionally the vast amount of bulk that you find, if you were going to open up a 5,000 count bag of wheat cents, you're going to encounter roughly 85, 90% of the bag being 30s, 40s, and 50s. That's a foregone conclusion. What he's not going to tell you is that during this 3 decade range, all right, and this is probably where Daniel could really care less at this idea, but this is where the collector, personality comes out in me. This is also a 3 decade set where you have some of the most desirable dye varieties that come out of these coins, especially in the 40s and 50s. 30s, there's a few in there. The 36 doubled dye obverse, there's 3 different main cherry pickers guide varieties of that, is a good one. The 39 DDO FS101 is another good one. There's a 34D or 34D DDO FS101, the 34 Philly FS101, the 35 FS101. But when you get into the 40s and 50s, there's repunch mint marks, there's doubled dyes, there's some really big ones, especially in the 50s. So just because we end up with this large, vast majority of like 40s and 50s out of our bulk, it's not the end of the world. There are other ways to see the value in it. All right, so I just wanted to point that out. That's how I've been kind of taking care of business. I've made it a kind of an industry and business to thrive on variety hunting on these, and I've done it for years and done really well. So if you do accept it, you accept it, but it's kind of a learning curve, and it's something, ladies and gentlemen, that I think it thrives more online, like on eBay and maybe on Facebook, than it really does by saying, "Hey, Daniel, I found this, 1936 FS101 DDO." He might pay you the market for it because it's a recognized cherry picker's guide variety. In addition to being, he actually has a cherry picker's guide sitting there right to the left of him, by the way. But also it's in the red book. So anything generally in the red book, he would be more interested for. If it's like what they call picking fly poop out of mashed potatoes is what they call it. Little specks. There's a different niche there that's better suited for online sales.
So you'll see all that, and that's another reason. It's the same dates and mints that you see over and over and over, roll after roll after roll. Number two on the list, and it ties in with number three, and because of that, Lincoln Cents has become the fodder for basically just a bunch of roll filler for salted in rolls, for unsearched roll scams and fraud. There, you go on eBay and you look for unsearched rolls, you're going to see more cent rolls than you're going to see anything else, and most of them are going to have cleaned, common date, mid 30s, 40s, and 50s in the middle of those rolls where they put good coins on each end. It's been one of the most prevalent running scams and fraudulent selling activity online since we started selling online. I
Yeah,
mean, mid
20,
90s,
25 years. I
especially
remember
with
I
the advent
remember
of
this
eBay
practice
and
happening
iOffer
in
and all these other
1999.
sites.
It's
The
unfortunate.
number one issue on the list for coin dealers, and this is huge, because of all the number uh, 10 through 2 that I've listed, people don't believe a coin dealer when they tell them their Lincoln Cent isn't worth that much money.
Yep.
That they'll only pay 2 cents for it, or only pay 3 cents for it, or whatever they pay a roll or a bag. People don't believe them because they fell for the clickbait articles, clickbait videos, or they Googled it, or they use one of these phone apps. So they call a dealer up or they walk into a coin shop with a handful of cents or rolls or whatever they have that they found
Yeah.
and ask the and tell, and I've heard it so many times, they'll tell me even, I looked it up, I Googled it, or my phone told me this is worth a lot of money, I'm calling you to find out, and I've got hung up on. I even got a bad review for it. So those are the top 10 reasons why coin dealers would hate Lincoln Cents. It's just too much to deal with when it comes to the public, and it's getting worse because of the phone apps, because of the clickbait articles and videos. So remember that if you find a Lincoln Cent that you think is worth a lot of money, be kind, because it's probably not. Most of them out there are not worth that much money.
Yeah. So yeah, that ends all the points. 10 points. He hit the nail on the head on every single one. Of course, I threw in my 2 cents in there. Bleh. Um, that was not by design. I don't know. Never mind. So, with that being said, Lincoln Sense, he dedicated a whole video talking about why he doesn't buy certain Lincoln Sets and why. Yeah, it's not that he's going to turn you away whatsoever. If you came in and you had Lincoln Sets kind of strewn about along with other coins, he'll buy the whole thing. And he'll give you whatever the dealer market is, generally 2 cents a piece. I would encourage you guys to check out his other video that he had posted the day after, where he talked about the coins that he wants to see in the shop and wants to buy. These are some of the more ideal coins, and he threw in some pretty good ones in there. Aside from the atypical or prototypical 1909S, 09S VDB, 14D, 22 plane, 31S. He even threw some kind of oddball dates in there, the 13S, 12S. I would imagine the 10S, 11S would be in there. The Denver variants of any of the teen dates, save for anything beyond 1915, are quite desirable for his shop. And then some other ones in there too, 24D, 26S. Some of those San Francisco dated 20s coins are quite tough, because a lot of them were so poorly struck. All right, so that's why there's a lot more need and desirability across all grade levels, is that just regular everyday armchair collectors that's filling up an album, they need some of those dates, but they would rather pay up for specific grades. Like a good solid VF coin, might run Daniel or run a customer, maybe $10 or higher. And then Daniel wouldn't mind buying them for a couple bucks. So the series in itself is a very broad and deep spectrum, but we have to keep in mind that a good chunk of it, is somewhere in that 80-90% tiering of coins are really not worth a whole lot of money. All right. But where there is opportunity are in those key dates. They're going to be in some of those varieties. You could go on like coppercoins.com, varietyvista.com, doubleddie.com, and even another website called Lincoln Cent Resource, which also has a built-in forum chat page, so you could talk with other like-minded people that are looking for varieties and things like that. So there is a brighter, deeper, wider kind of level of collecting that can be realized, but keep in mind it's a little bit more niche too. So that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. Again, go ahead and check out Daniel's online store shop, portsmouthcoinshop.com. I'll even put the website URL down below in the description box. Thank you guys again. Daniel, always good to see you, brother. He's so passive sometimes. Anyways, yeah, that's it. Well, I'm your host, Sean, Blue Ridge Silverhound. You guys take care and keep on collecting, friends. See ya.